Hey, what's going on? It's Tone Scott, AK. You're watching the B Shine. Growing up as a kid in Detroit, it wasn't a big scene in the early 80s, but I recall a guy named Prince Vince. And Prince Vince was the closest thing we had to New York hip hop. And right then and there, it was like one of my guys that I looked up to. He put a big influence on me. Then came the Awesome Dre's, K-Stone, Chill Easy, a lot of those guys. I remember them. Detroit Most Wanted, definitely. I remember at the Masonic Temple in Detroit, it's a concert venue. I remember being there and sneaking in, and I ran into like Houdini, LL, Bobcat, and at the time I was a DJ, and I seen Bobcat, and here I am, I'm here with this Levi outfit on, Kango on, Slim. Bobcat took a double take. He's like, yo, I thought you was L. So it was kind of like a surreal moment to like, I'm like, yeah, I need to be in hip hop, like, because it was one of them things, man. And Masonic Temple was definitely a great memory, just watching the Fat Boys and stuff like that. My involvement early on, I was watching. I was like taking a lot of notes from, like I said, some of these guys, like the Prince Vince, Awesome Dre's, and K-Stones. These guys, man, had a real big influence on me, especially Prince Vince, because I remember one time Vince did a show with Big Daddy Kane, and they just smashed Big Daddy Kane off the stage, like Prince Vince and the Hip Hop Force. You know, he was like real cool. Like he was, like I'm telling you, he really impacted me. And just watching Vince from the fashion, from the way they move, you know, in and out the building, how they approach the stage show, it was a real big impact and influence on my early years. When I started taking it serious, I really started, like I said, listening and learning. Like that was my biggest teacher, was I would go and just play the background. You know, they used to have rap events called at the Brotherhood. And this was where all of the MCs, you know, would just go like one big gathering, like once every year. And I just kind of played the background for years and then just absorbed, you know, all the energy, all the fashion, and was like, I'm gonna get my moment. But then, like I said, I didn't really have a teacher to show me like the proper way to rhyme, the proper way to make the track. So it was watching and learning. So I would book sessions in the studio and learn on the clock. It was like my college years, you know, just, you know, accidental stuff. Like, oh, don't do that. But it cost me. My family didn't. They supported me. Like my mom bought my mixer. My brother bought my first 1200 Technique turntable. So they was, whatever you trying to do, you know, just do it. Finish school. I never finished school. I dropped out 12th grade and I was making money DJing parties, so I knew I wanted to be in it. What I like most about being in music, the creativity as far as writing a rhyme or making a beat or even performing at a show, is watching the people light up, watching the effect that it has on people when they take in what you've created or they see a show and they right there with you. Like, that's the best feeling for me, and it's unexplainable. It's almost like explaining what water tastes like. It's an addiction, man. That's why people, they continue to do it, and it's hard to quit. When you can get that, it's a high that you can't explain, you know. I did a show at the Freaknik, and at the time, Jay-Z wasn't Jay-Z, but I knew who he was, because he didn't have but Hawaiian Sophie out, and he was performing with a group called Original Flavor. And I seen him, but my name was bigger at the time. So I was like the headliner at the Freaknik, and he performed, seen him. Then I came out, had a crazy show, because I was signed to Bellmark Sony Records through a subsidiary. But they had me all, you know, everything lined up. So I get out there, do my show, That was like one of my greatest moments to know that who Jay-Z is now, to know that he opened up for me. So, I hold on to that. I produced a guy named Blade Icewood, and it's put a big influence on a lot of the youth that's, come up after Blade. And to see how these guys has really took to Blade, even at the 10 years he's been gone, and they hold him dear to their heart. Like, Blade is God to these guys. Like, I could be in the store and people would see me and be like, you AK, you produce Blade. They touch on my shoulder, like, what was it like working with Blade? Like, so it's real, man. Like, a lot of people, they stop and just, please work with me. You did Blade. I mean, so that's one of the moments too. I hope the impact for my legacy that I will leave behind would be that I was a pioneer that influenced, that I helped, I put my piece in the Detroit music movement. Like, here's my part. I did my part, and people will always acknowledge that, to say, AK did that, and you can't take that from him. I've turned into, playing the field of shooting and directing and getting behind the camera and producing a series called The Preview, which is like a unsung meets American Gangster. First one I dropped was on a guy named T. Stuckey, who had a chance to sign Eminem. Kind of missed that. He was Proof's cousin. He had myself signed and a couple of other artists. And Blade Icewood is volume 2. And Proof would be like volume 3. But that's where I'm geared up now to, to shoot these documentaries and give people more history about Detroit, because we kind of forget, the more and more time goes by, we forget our history. So I just kind of want to just show people like, we had a music history, a hip hop history. The scene before the hip hop shop, we were lost, but we were together. We had places like Latin Quarters, which was switched, Grand Quarters, Latin Quarters. Like I talked about the Brotherhood, Polo Club. The scene was like, it was alive because it was new, and it was a place for the youth to go. And by hip hop being new back then, it was the place to be. Support for Detroit artists and artists supporting each other, it's not really there, because, and this is my opinion, I think we have too many artists, and it's hard for other artists in Detroit to support each other when they're trying to, reach the top. And they don't get that everybody can have their moment, everybody can have their time, support it. It goes in a cycle, push him through the door, let him pull you through the door, then that can happen. But it has a lot to do with history of Detroit. It's always been a broken structure. Like, guidance isn't a part of what we have in Detroit as far as support. It don't hurt to support, because what I don't think they get is, if you allow other artists to keep coming in your own city to perform, to sell records, they take that money and take it back to their city. But if you support your own artists, then they'll go out and do shows and bring money back to your city. And then it'll shine a brighter light for you to actually get on and do the same thing. But if you don't support your own artists, you're going to kill the whole thing that we call Detroit hip-hop or music. And that's kind of what Trick was really trying to say with this no-fly zone. I think he was misunderstood at times. But he was basically saying, hey, not just the out-of-towners, the artists that come in here, but our own people. Like, hey, support your own people, and things will be better, because without supporting your own, you'll never have nothing.